Hey, yo, Sox fans. NWI Steve back here once again with a little bit of late breaking news as the White Sox continue their flurry of transactional activity here during the All-Star break this afternoon with the announcement that the team is promoting number 24 organizationally ranked prospect Brooks Baldwin up to the corner of 35th and Shields. Baldwin is going to join the team tomorrow in Kansas City following a brief 8-game cup of coffee in AAA Charlotte with the Knights of the International League, in which Baldwin slashed a very robust 345, 441, 655 with 2 homers over the course of his 8-game stint with the Knights. This is on the cusp of Baldwin putting together a very strong first half of the season in AA Birmingham of the Southern League, helping to be one of the offensive catalysts for the Birmingham Barons' first half division championship. Overall, across both levels here so far this season, Baldwin is slashing 324, 391, 460 with 8 home runs. This is particularly impressive for a player in AA Birmingham, as I've talked about on numerous occasions. Regents Park and the Southern League in general has been very offensively suppressing for AA hitters for a number of years. So to see Baldwin be a player have that level of success in AA and have it immediately translate to the AAA level in the much more hitter-friendly Truist Ballpark there in downtown Charlotte is certainly refreshing to see. 10 days ago, in fact, I had actually penned a column over at ontapsportsnet.com. Be sure to go to the website to check it out here, highlighting Baldwin as well as Jonathan Cannon and the organizational need to have what are referred to as developmental wins. And Baldwin is really a true testament to this concept and this idea, and his promotion here to the White Sox to begin the second half of the 2024 season is certainly eye-catching, to say the least here. When we talk about developmental wins, we talk about players and think about individuals who are not highly touted prospect, not guys that you're going to see on top 100 prospect listings, not first-round draft picks coming into an organization, as we just completed the first-year player draft a couple of days ago here. So Baldwin is definitely one of these guys that represents an organizational development win. He was a player that was drafted in the 12th round out of little-known UNC Wilmington in the 2022 draft. He's actually going to be joining his teammate and draft class member from that 2022 season, Jonathan Cannon, who was actually the first player from that draft class to reach the big leagues earlier this year in April with his promotion to the White Sox. So these two joining together here is pretty encouraging sign for Mike Shirley and the overall draft class of that 2022 year for the Chicago White Sox. Circling back to Baldwin here for a minute, again, the idea of an organizational development win is particularly important because Baldwin is, like I said, a guy that hasn't cracked any top 100 prospect lists. He's not somebody whose name that you're going to see bandied about as a future superstar, but that's important. It's important to have guys like these reach the major leagues and be success stories. If Rebuild 3.0 is going to have any success, and if the White Sox are going to at any point return to contention in the near future, they need to have players like Brooks Baldwin come up to the big league level and be contributors for this team in a positive fashion. Again, that was a big reason why Rebuild 2.0 failed. We've talked about ad nauseum. At one point, this team had 9 different players cracking top 100 prospect listings, and we have seen a varying array of success and failures from those players that cracked those top 100 prospect listings here. A big part of the reason why Rebuild 2.0 failed was outside of those initial top level prospects, the guys that were reaching those national publication listings here, the guys that were highly lauded, guys that came over in highly publicized trades for all-star veterans and first-round draft picks. There wasn't anything else in the farm system coming to the corner of 35th and Shields and making positive contributions. That's why we continue to see such a shallow roster and a lack of depth across the organization. Hopefully, with the ascension of players like Baldwin and like Cannon, we'll see this turn around here during Rebuild 3.0. Now, Baldwin, as I mentioned, has had a tremendous amount of success here at the AA and in his brief cup of coffee at the AAA level here in 2024. But now he's getting to the big time here. Now he's going to be seeing the best pitchers in the world, and we're ultimately going to see what he is made of. Don't be surprised to see some struggles from him here during the early phases of this initial call-up, but that's okay. We all know where this team is at right now. They were the first team in Major League history to have 70 losses before the All-Star break. Now, granted, the All-Star break later this year than it has been in years past, but the futility that this organization has displayed here through the first half of the 2024 season is historic, to say the least. They are on a very dangerous trend and projecting to be right around 120 losses for the season. So we are more than likely looking at the worst team in franchise history. So for the remainder of this season, it's really going to be about development and the returns for any potential trades that could happen here as we approach the non-waiver trade deadline at the end of the month. But on the developmental side, for guys like Brooks Baldwin, guys that are going to come up here to the major leagues and be given an opportunity in a lost season, ultimately to find out, is this someone that could be a building block? Not necessarily even a building block, but just a dependable everyday piece for the next competitive White Sox team. This is very important. If the White Sox are able to have Brooks Baldwin step in, assume the role at second base, and just be a positive, average, everyday major leaguer, that is a huge developmental win for this team. It's something that we have not seen in a number of years. Really, the last time that we can think of a player that goes along these lines would be Jose Quintana, who was signed as a minor league free agent after departing the New York Mets following the 2011 season. Q was able to emerge and get the call up to the big league club in the summer of 2012. And through the midway point of the 2017 season, when he was traded across town, became one of the most reliable and dependable pitchers, not only on the White Sox, but across Major League Baseball. So that was, in a lot of ways, a developmental win for this team, even though Quintana was not someone that was originally signed and fully nurtured through the White Sox farm system here. But there were some key tweaks that were made to him when he arrived within the organization at AA Birmingham, and ultimately leading to him having a high level of success pitching at the major league level for an extended period of time. Baldwin, if he can stake claim to the second base position here on an everyday basis, or if he can even just become a functional utility player of some degree, that is significant for this team. To be able to have a player that you draft out of the 12th round ultimately turn into someone that you can rely on and get a level of production from at the major league level, that is very significant for this team. We've talked about very frequently, this team is not going to be going into the free agent market as long as the current ownership is in place to ultimately finish off a roster. So having guys be developmental wins that you weren't counting on becomes very important. So for Baldwin, guys like him, Jonathan Cannon, and maybe some other unheralded prospects that are making their way up through the system right now, whether it was in previous drafts or even this most recently completed draft just a couple of days ago, into the future here, if they can get guys in later rounds, and not even necessarily later rounds in the 10th to 12th round, but even guys in the 5th and 6th rounds, guys that aren't household names, but actually get into the organization's system here, see improvements, tangible improvements in multiple different areas. That's very significant for a team that is never going to go out and acquire premium talent out on the open market here. So I know I'm pretty excited to see Brooks Baldwin here, see how his development continues for the White Sox at the corner of 35th and Shields for the remainder of this season here. Again, let's temper enthusiasm on this. I'm sure there's going to be some struggles along the way for the player here as he's just getting his first taste at the best pitching that you will ever see on the planet. But if Baldwin is able to hold his own and potentially insert himself as a answer to the second base position, something that has really eluded this team since they traded Tadahito Iguchi during the 2007 season, that would be very big for this team going into the future here as they try to get back to some level of competency and ultimately contention here in the near future. That's all for right now here. Like I said, be sure to go to ontapsportsnet.com. Take a look at the article from 10 days ago I wrote highlighting Brooks Baldwin, Jonathan Cannon, and the need for developmental wins across the White Sox system.